While reading through the subreddit Paranormal, I came upon this post by the Lightworker 5, where she provides cleansing advice to a person who is experiencing a haunting in their house. What caught my attention was the advice she gave. It was so reminiscent to the advice we heard from The Exorcist. So we got in touch with her and she obliged with her story. JM, Sam, and Liz joined in on the call. Maria talks about her awakening to the invisible world, her agreement with her elementals, and her experience with a vampiric attack. What follows is a conversation that will probably open your mind further into what lies in the unknown. Enjoy.
Lately, since that with me and this this podcast has been working together, I am feeling more. Literally, like 3 4 months ago, I feel sick, but I don't see anything. Like maybe you can help me out as well on that, because I feel like I have a certain ache in my stomach. Because before, when I was still very active, every time that I feel something in my stomach, I know that there is an entity around me and I can see them. So it's actually like a warning sign that okay, I there's an entity around me. But now, from January until like only March, I I'm always in pain, but I don't see anything. But now I'm feeling more. I feel entity. I feel actually like yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, I had a psychic attack, which was really scary for me because it has been so long since I felt that attack. On I wanna get it back, if that makes sense.
Can you perhaps, if you want to, can you explain what happened during that attack?
So last night we were. I think what triggered it, and I don't know about JM because yes, last night there was a few photos that has been being flashed on our chat room. We have a private chat room. I am trying too hard to check on the photo if there is any presence or not. I kind of identified one. I feel like there is something on that tree, but after that, it's like a migraine and a full body, almost 1 minute straight goosebump. Like it was something that I have never felt before, and I think that because I tap too much, and that's why I feel like is it an attack or is it just a sudden burst of what I'm supposed to be feeling that I do not know.
Mm. I have heard from quite the number of ability people that they are explaining some of the same stuff that you're explaining, and that's kind of why I'm trying to listen close to you. And when you're telling me, where did my abilities go and all of that, what I sense is that up here, the top of the back of your head, it feels like almost like there's some kind of like a plate or something in there, like an energy of something that is kind of keeping you from connecting with it. And that area over here, that needs to be cleansed like a lot, because somehow you got into something with a lot of negative energy. And I think it might be a special form of entity, and it has actually created that kind of plate or like membrane or whatever you want to call it, an energy, so that you can't connect. Even though you meditate and do all that stuff, you can't get through it. And it's most likely it's also connected to when you sometimes feel the stomach pain and kind of a migraine thing going on. There's a connection between all of that. So I would say most likely the way to get reacquainted with your nature is to try and really focus on cleansing all of that out of you, because I think this was done to you on purpose.
Hey, wow, because that's okay. Well, maybe later on we'll discuss further. But I think we have another co-host on the in the meeting. We have JM. Hi, JM.
Hi,
You're
JM.
on mute.
Hi, 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 hi.
Hey. Actually, Sam's example is a pretty good example of what can happen if the third eye is getting forcefully,
Close.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, not that his situation is exactly the same necessarily, but it's just a good example now that we have Sam with us. Anyway, and he's I think Sam is lucky that none of the attacks has been able to succeed, because it could have led to what I would call a minor possession, and
Mm.
that is bitchy because you need to get out of that again, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so I understand that some parents they think like that, but it can really do so much harm, there's many other ways to help the child without taking that risk. So
First of all, I would like to know how did it start for you? I mean, at what age did you realize that you had this gift? I mean, this sensitivity to the to the invisible world.
well, I was born with this, so I can remember being about 3 or 4 months old as a baby, and literally floating, the feeling of floating through the air without anyone having their hands on me, just
Mm-hmm.
floating through the air like that,
Mm-mm.
and seeing big dense blobs of black shadows. And I had some kind of doggish entity creature that was, when I was in the cradle, just a few months old, when I was put down for napping, that dog kind of thing was always there, and I could hear it. It sounded like a dog and stuff like that. So when I got older and I remembered this, I was questioning my mom, like, did we have a dog at some point in time? And she was just laughing. I was,
Mm-mm.
no, of course we didn't. um, so I kind of found out that everything has been very much upside down for me, because I started with all of that, and then I had to, as I grew up, try to figure out what is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I was a toddler, to 4 years old, I started slowly to notice that my parents and other people, they were not reacting to what I saw and heard and felt. And I was like, why is she not addressing that thing over there? And why is that there? It's
Yeah.
kind of, it was very confusing for me.
Yes.
So I had to first try and figure out what humans and the human world is all about, because I was that different. My experiences were that
At
different.
a very young age.
Yeah. And at that age, I saw them just as physically as I'm seeing you. So I really didn't get it, because the house was full of people, you could say, but they were only talking to me. So what's going on? Yeah.
That experience sounds so much like what when we first met Sam. That's the same thing he told us. He told us, "I grew up seeing a lot of people around me." It sounds so much the same as what you would experience.
Yeah, I think that like you, Maria, we have to learn the world on a different way, because I grew up as well, just like you, with a lot of spirits around me, and I thought that that should have been normal, but apparently it's not. So I think you and I kind of like have the same upbringing of like we felt super different from other people, right? And that I think that it is. It's funny because you mentioned that, and I literally felt the same way.
Well, I remember about 7 or 8 years old that I something like kind of happened in my mind, and for some reason I felt like I should try and convert into the human world. And so for some years, I still had experiences, but they were not as clear as they were before. It was almost kind of like the human world kind of like dimmed what I could do,
Yes.
because I was trying to be more like them. And that lasted until first I was 12. they were telling me about God and the Bible and the whole kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, if you want me baptized in this, I want to know what all of this is about. So I literally, age 12, took the Bible and read it from page one to page last with footnotes and everything. And I think because of my abilities, I was starting to notice as I read, I'm like, but this is not true. And then I read some more pages and I'm like, this is not true. I mean, what are you talking about? And I just kept that going. And then when I kindly confronted my parents and said, I can't get baptized because this is not true, of
Yeah.
course, they were like,
Oh.
you're crazy. What are you talking about?
Yes.
And so we started arguing on what's not true in the Bible. And they were, at the end of it, they didn't have any more arguments because I could argue that well, age 12.
Yeah.
And so they just went on and said, well, we just have to trust the priest that this is accurate, you know. And
Yeah.
for me, that started for me to walk in a different direction again, because I'm like, these humans actually don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I slowly started to convert back to just being me again. Yeah.
I'm gonna skip some of my questions, but this is very interesting for me. So Sam could see ghosts and elementals. And based on the stories we've heard from Filipinos, some people could see these elementals also. And I keep thinking, are these elementals unique to the Philippines? So I want to ask you, given you see ghosts also, I saw one of your Reddit posts that your eldest son, I think, had a light being visiting him at middle of the night. So that's why you couldn't sleep. But have you seen or talked to elementals?
Yeah. On some occasion, I have. A couple of years ago, I started to notice that on YouTube, there's actually a lot of really good recordings of people going to weird places and just push record, you know. And because of my abilities, when I watch those videos, I can usually connect with whatever entities or ghosts or whatever is there. I didn't know that in the beginning, and that was a little funny. I got quite startled at to begin with, but I found out how to kind of like try and handle it. Yeah, some of them were elementals. I mean, they've been given many names. Jinn seems to
Yeah.
be a popular term these days.
Yes.
But you could just say, well, they're all kind of really elemental spirits. Some are more interested in doing some stuff than others, and some are, for instance, connected to or like made of fire or wind or whatever element, right? They are different to talk to than humans, human spirits or spirits of other beings. They're a little different because they haven't been incarnated in a bodily being, so they're a little more like, you could say, somewhat short tempered and stuff like
Mm,
that. You know, they
okay.
don't have necessarily a lot of patience with
Okay.
people because, oh God, you're just so stupid, you know, like, but it's not per se that they're negative or evil, but some are just really losing patience with humans, you know, and if they want to go like,
At this point, Maria flicks her finger, similar to how you would flick your finger at an annoying insect or bug.
when to some human,
Yeah.
they just might do it
Yeah.
because they have just like had it, you know, you're ruining my forest or
Yeah.
polluting my water, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens.
Actually, here in the Philippines, it happens quite a lot. There are still underdeveloped areas in the Philippines, like some of the provinces. So when it's time to get to have it developed, they would of course cut down trees. And another question. So here in the Philippines, a popular elemental, popular elemental, it because they've seen it, is like a dwarf, and here we call it
Oh,
duende. There it's supposed to be called nise.
Nisa, yeah, yeah.
So are there also small people, small?
It's like a gnome, yeah, and I think it's like 1 feet tall, tops, like 75 centimeters
Okay.
or stuff like that.
That's very precise.
Kind of like if you take from the ground and to the seat of the chair, that's just about their height when they are showing in a physical form. And those that we have, I mean, there are a few of them that does have a knack with people, but there are also a lot of funny ones. Some Christmases are very funny around here because you can hear all sorts of weird noises coming from the closets and drawers and stuff like that. And then when you try to like move closer to the closet to listen to like what is going on, and you can just hear like this poof.
Yeah.
And so when you open the closet, there's nothing in there, of course. Then you close it again and the same stuff happens. So yeah, mostly I have dealt with the funny ones, but that is because in my home I keep reinforcing a protection that filters out as much of the negative as possible. So if I want to encounter something more negative on purpose, I would have to like watch some real life recordings or go out somewhere to cemetery, or hospitals are really good. Hospitals are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. We often think that the cemetery is the worst, but the hospitals, it's worse with the hospitals. Ugh.
Where did you learn the protections that you learned? Did you do it on your own? Were they guided to you by, I mean, these elementals or these spirits?
Well, first of all, I could kind of see what they were doing when I was really small, like a toddler, I guess. I could see kind of what they were doing. For instance, when I was a toddler, I moved from the cradle to sleeping in a crib that is
Yeah.
somewhat bigger, this
Yeah.
square kind of thing with
Mm-hmm.
bars on it. And every night when I was put down to sleep, I had on top of the bars in the head end and the foot end, I had these amazing, completely golden looking, I would say angels.
Yeah.
They looked very pure and this golden, and they had huge wings. And so they sat on those bars and they kneeled and they like folded their wings over me like that. So I was completely covered in this golden stuff.
Ah.
And remembering stuff like that, some of the things that I do most often, if I encounter something I'm not sure if it's negative or not, then I immediately like put up a what looks to me like a golden grid of energy like all around me. So that was one of the ways. But also, I have done a lot of studies that I started up with, I think, age 17 or something, because I was thinking, okay, if this is really me and I have to live like life like this, I want to know as much about it as possible.
Yeah.
So I just started to read everything I could find. I was literally like emptying the libraries, and I cannot count anymore how many books I've read. um because it is potentially dangerous to
Yes.
live like we do.
Yes.
So I wanted to know everything.
One advice you gave was similar because when we were helping Liz protect her home, an exorcist came in with a call also, and
Mhm.
it was the same thing that you would advise, that it's like
Mm.
it's using your imagination literally and your intention
Yeah.
to make a barrier or to make a shield or have that light emanate from the same thing you said. Imagine you have a light, strong light coming out of you and covering yourself and then your entire room. So
Yeah.
that's why we got in touch with you, because I mean it was the same.
Sorry, if I could also just jump in. Yeah, it's very interesting because I think it was around 4 years ago when we lived in an apartment where back then my 1 month old son would cry every midnight and in just inside the bedroom. But whenever we go out of the bedroom, he would stop crying. So that actually went on for weeks, and it came to a point where we had to sleep in the living room. And one of actually friends messaged me on Facebook because she read what I posted. And that's the same advice that she gave me, to just think that there's like a bright light, and create like an orb, like a barrier that will protect me and my family. Like whenever we go to sleep, that's what she advised me to do, to like envision that there's this circle of light that's enveloping us and protecting us. So that's very interesting to learn or to hear that
It's
that
real.
yeah, that it's
It's real.
actually like it's different kinds of people who don't know each other give the same advice.
Yeah, that's true.
What is the mare? Mare? Or is it a mare? Is it another?
Mare.
Yeah. Is it like another mythical creature or like a elemental there in?
Mm, well, so you say the word mare,
Yeah.
and usually in Danish we put the, as you do in English, we put nightmare in front of that.
Nightmare. Yes. Oh.
Night is because it has been noticed by people that these usually come after sunset. Um, I have to say I'm not so sure they're elementals. I think they're pretty more vicious than that. To me, I would classify them more like in the group of demonics, because they are purposefully targeting people in order to hurt them, and that hurt creates a lower vibration, negative energy, and they
Yes.
feed off of that. They suck it,
Mm-mm.
literally. They live off of it, because without that energy, they cannot move around in light worlds. They would have to stay in what I call the abyss or the dark dimension. They cannot exist in any other way. They cannot move around in light worlds without sucking energy from light beings. I don't feel elementals with them. They seem to come out of the abyss and
Mm.
deliberately targeting light beings to keep them fed.
When you see these or when you feel them,
Mm.
well, based on the stories, do you also feel the intent of these beings?
Yes, very much. Very much so. And it is to the point where it becomes an instinct to me that if I feel that vicious, no doubt, a negative intent, I'm just trying to work to shield it
Mm.
immediately. Some of them, even though I'm shielding, they try to move in for an attack anyway. And so sometimes the whole envision a bright light coming from you and surrounding you, or that's kind of not enough with some of these entities. You have to get a little more kick-ass
Yeah.
and like,
Okay.
so if it's the really hard kind of ones that really wants to hurt you, you have to move from the nice white bubble into a straight fight. So
So when you say that you fight them, you use the same thing. You use the same intention, the same, well, the imagination to fight them. Is that the same thing?
yeah, I just use it actively instead
Mm.
of just having a more like passive
Passively,
bubble. I
yes.
use it actively, almost like a weapon, actually. You can with a negative being that has collected a lot of negative energy, they become like the opposite of the light. So you can kind of use let's say a beam of white light. It would kind of repel them because of the
Mm.
opposite polarity.
Yes.
So you're kind of like blasting and then shooting them out of there,
Yeah.
and so they go off like that. Yeah. So yeah, we have to do that sometimes.
Yes.
It's somewhat equivalent to watching some of the demon possession movies, stuff like that, when the priests just have to go all crazy and like, in the name of the divine Lord. It's pretty much equivalent to that. Yeah.
Here in the Philippines also, well, for some of these guys that are here, they have what we call guardians of a sense. So some of them are spirits of past maybe family members, some of the people I've talked to, and some are like JM. He has a few are they elementals, JM?
Yes, elemental.
I'm not sure if you have the same thing that.
Mm. Yeah, I have a variety, really, just like the dog thing when I was just an infant. But I don't necessarily use them per se because we have this kind of agreement
Mm,
that I would learn more if I do stuff myself. So the agreement is that, of course, they're assisting me and doing different kind of stuff, but only in order to support. They're careful that they don't step into my way so that I can learn as much as possible. If they want to perhaps let me know of something specific, they can like give me specific dreams that they know that I would understand, or pick a particular book from the bookshelf and make it pop out in the middle of the night so that they know that I will find it the next day and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily use them actively, but I could. Yeah, they are at the disposal.
do they talk to you? I mean, that's the way they communicate through dreams and through other signs. They don't talk to you directly, meaning through your mind or through telling you something, whispering things to you.
Yeah, well, not as much anymore. They
Mm-hmm.
did that kind of like 10, 15 years ago, I think.
Mm.
But it seems like I have reached a point of development that they are trying to kind of step back and let me do theirs. And I think it has to do with some kind of maturity or something like that, that when you have reached a point, okay, you can actually handle 90% of stone on
Yeah.
your own, so you just go ahead. It kind of like parents,
Mm.
when the child is mature enough to move out into the world on its own. I think it's kind of equivalent to that.
Since Liz is here, right here with us, I would like to ask on her behalf, what would you advise her how to deal with her children who are talking to beings? Because her just yesterday, I think she was saying, "Oh, my son keeps talking to this part of this tree. He keeps going there." And
It's not a tree. He just like randomly talks to the wall or the tree, or my daughter's the one who talks to the tree. I'm sorry. It's my son who talks to like the air, or he just randomly says, "Come on, let's go," something like that.
So I'm guessing that you have been observing your child for some time
Yes.
during this, right? Do you have any feeling like, does it seem friendly? Are they friends, or is it someone kind of just butting into his life somehow? Do you have any feelings about that?
In our old house, I felt like it was something random, but like here lately, I think the presence sort of felt familiar. I can't explain it. I mean, I can't really
Uh-huh.
see what they're seeing, but there's like a calming essence to the feeling. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I know. I would say if you have that calm kind of feeling, I would say that's a pretty good indicator that whatever is around him is most likely positive. So if not, he would start to change behavioral patterns. He would not just, commonly you're expecting children to just cry if anything is up. But there can be a lot of other behavioral signs to look for. For instance, I take it that he's old enough to just hold a pencil and just draw something, right, on a piece of paper?
Not really. He's only
He's 2.
two.
Okay, but then he can maybe grab something like this
Yeah,
to
yeah.
draw with. Okay, because it doesn't really matter if he can draw or not, because usually when younger children, if you give them the opportunity to draw and there is something pressing onto them that they don't really feel safe about, or they don't know what it is, they will almost like automatically try and communicate it down to the paper. And so doing that regularly, trying to, without forcing him, to just put him in a situation that he can draw or put colors or whatever, that could make it easier for you to try and observe if everything is okay. And so, of course, there's the natural behaving patterns, like, is he still eating as normal? And when it comes back out,
Yeah.
is he still shitting as normal? Because believe it or not, when people are having negative influences, or they might be scared but they can't talk about it, it kind of manifests in the digestive system. So eating and getting it back out is often like screwed up. It's not regular anymore. And of course, there's the obvious, like going to sleep and sleeping. Some children, now he's 2, so to some children, 2-year-old, it's normal to wake up twice
Yeah.
in the night and just wake up and be a bit confused and then go back to sleep again, So that would be his normal pattern. But if that changes, it seems like when he's dreaming and he's strange, or is estranged, or like agitated when sleeping, almost like you can tell that he's having a nightmare or he's being disturbed somehow, because he's like erratic and perhaps making sounds and like and stuff like that.
That was the case for my daughter, I think. Yeah, the nightmares.
Yeah.
She was really shouting and she was saying, he's coming for me, he's coming for me, something like that.
It's not even that obvious, because the entities are trying to get through to the subconscious. So that's why it would be smart to just observe, are their patterns still normal? And if not, then single out that, whatever it is, and start to focus on that. Perhaps if it seems like they're playing with someone or something, observe the way that they're playing. Does it seem like a fair play, that it's actually funny and they're enjoying themselves, or does it seem like they're being interrupted and they actually don't necessarily like it, like, stop taking my car or whatever, and I'm gonna move over here, and because you're just being stupid, and all of that. When you collect that can signal to you what is going on with them, as in, is it positive or negative oriented, what it is that they are encountering. Because you cannot stop the encounterings, that will always be there.
But like for the nightmares, do dream catchers actually work? Or
I would say, if you have them especially made, like custom made to fit that particular person, and then you could do blessings of onto it yourself. Like, it could be something simple, just putting your hands in front of the dream catcher and just say, sacred divine, bless this item, bless this dream catcher, that it may be a positive and a protection for my child. But you should have, just something all natural like that. You don't have to say God or any particular names, because that can sometimes get people in trouble. But just, go by the neutral, like sacred divine or sacred spirit. That is usually the safe way of doing it. And then have a dream catcher for each child, because it becomes a personal tool to them.
I see. Okay. That's actually very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I have a dream catchers myself, really. They're
Yeah, we
amazing.
see it there.
But just like everything else, over time, energy starts to slowly just move away and just evaporate. That's the nature of everything. So you would have to re-bless it with some days in between.
Like how often?
Or if, well, that kind of depends how many encounters, are you being like overrun, or is it just
Okay, so
a
maybe
little
every
here and
day.
there? I would say if they are often that they have encounters, at least one a day. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I learned that fact from JM
Mhm.
when we
Cool.
started talking to him, and he said you have to recharge because again he practiced Wicca.
Yeah.
He had to recharge near the bay, and he would recharge by the water and the moon and the earth behind him. That's where he went.
Yeah.
Actually, he has a question. I'm not sure if you would indulge us to answer it. He said, uh, what do you see in him? Do you see any what I mean? If you sense anything from him, because we know he's not a good person. That's why maybe no, that's just a joke. But he was saying is if you can sense anything from him.
Is it possible you can move his picture to become the big picture?
Okay.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, hey. I would say what I see is that you have walked down a road of many experiences and many things being on your way, many different encounters, and sometimes going, what's that? What this? Why is this happening? What am I supposed to see here? But what I sense from you is that you have a really good and pure heart, like you're a very positive person. So what I feel is that if you acknowledge that as actually being part of the sacred, and you really allow yourself to acknowledge that and be in that, you can walk in whatever world you will without being polluted by any negative. But allow it to become stronger in you. You're in a way, you're kind of like a priest or a priestess. You have that bright light in you, but some part of you is still feeling human and stuff like that, and that's very natural. So I would say allow you to actually be that light of good, and then you can walk anywhere you want. I think it's very interesting that you're working with elementals. Are they agreeing with you? Do you see eye to eye on stuff, or
Actually, it's not eye to eye. There are times that they whisper. Actually, sometimes I have a doubt on myself if I can do some stops or if I can in some things that we're having in our adventures. What will I need to do for me to gain that trust in myself?
like I said, I think it's something about acknowledging the fact that you are more sacred light than actual human. You're used to thinking it the other way around. Like, I'm human and I'm just trying to do something good or something like that. And it's kind of the other way around. You were born here and you were born like this because you have that special light. And it's stronger in you than in so many other people. But the trust comes along with you allowing to be that, to also be it in your physical body. Just allow it to go through all of this, and like, this is actually who I am, and this is actually why I'm here. So more self-confidence will start to come as you realize and really feel, well, this is actually true. It's kind of like opening a positive gateway, and so you can both connect better and be yourself better. And a lot of self-confidence will start to naturally arise from that. So I would say that's what you need to do. You don't look for something else out there, because the truth is in you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome.
I think the problem is the always problem for me in me is the hindrance. I think it's the regrets. There's a lot of regrets in the past that I can't let go. That's the one who stopped me from doing what I want.
Yeah, you need to do sessions of forgiving yourself. Because you know what? I make a ton of mistakes too. All of us do. And regret is not going to make anything better. If you have done what you could to set those situations right, then you need to forgive yourself because it happens to all of us. Love yourself, be kinder to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
When I think about it, it's very strong of you to make that decision at was that 14 years old when you said, "Okay, I won't follow the Bible and all your teachings. I'll do my own thing." Because again, I would like to bring up Liz's story and
Mm,
Sam's story that they felt different. They felt actually Liz felt she had sometimes she would tell us that she feels she's crazy when she sees these things because she tells us in our group, "Am I crazy? Did I see that?" Sometimes she went to a psychiatrist. Is that correct, Liz? Because just to check, because she didn't know. Again, part of what we do here in the podcast is to make other people. I hope other people who listen to us and hearing your beautiful words make them realize that for some people who are born with it, who got this activated in them, it's normal. It's something that you have to accept in you.
yeah. And some are evolved already when they get born, and that's why they're born with this full openly. But other people, they have to kind of like reach that evolutionary state, you could say, and that is why it suddenly activates in their life, and then they have that, oh shit, what is going on, and they run to the doctors and all kind. Please don't do that. They can't tell you anything. They can tell you that you're having a hard time. Yeah, you already know that. So if you want to really know the truth, you actually need to go in and connect with that light in your heart in order to find it. That's where the truth is. Psychiatrists can only tell you what they see from the outside, and they don't see enough. you know I had some vampire attacks on me and stuff like that some years ago, and I was actually really in the need of doctor's help. But what happened was what I kind of expected. They couldn't do dilly squat. They could just say, "Oh yeah, you have a severe blood loss, and we don't know where that blood went." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that." you know? So even with the physical stuff, they sometimes don't really know what to do or what to see or how to see it because it's just beyond them. And they're actually not even, we can hardly even blame them actually, because they are just not capable of putting all of that together and understanding it. So yeah, like you said, I think we should try and assist each other instead and see if we can get to these what I call ability people and kind of like say, hey, if you don't know where to go, we have a place, you know.
And also, I see you answering a lot of Reddit threads, and I'm very amazed at your diligence to. It's a good thing that people are reacting positively to it because, again, the internet. Sometimes people just chalk it off as
Yeah,
mumbo jumbo, right?
yeah. If you had had a really strong encounter yourself, you don't ask questions because that's a powerful encounter. But some of these people, they have never had an encounter, or they have only had a weak encounter, so they're like more like questioning, was it just a trick of lightning,
Yeah,
or is it
yeah.
just my subconscious, my imagination, yada yada yada. And then again, other people, they don't want to know about it because they actually like the world to be nice and normal.
Yes,
That's
yes.
just so easy. So there's all kind of people out there, and that is as it should be. I think the creators wants that, you know that there can be this variety. We all here to learn. Some learn from Square, some learn from stage 30 or whatever. but we're all here to learn. So
I have so many questions, Maria. Sorry, yeah. Just let us know if you have to go. I hope you don't mind. I have so many questions because, again, I read through some of your posts on Reddit, and some of your again the things you would say really struck a chord with me, like your belief in past lives.
mhm.
Do you, when you mentioned that in terms of evolution, do you believe in the? Have you heard of the Theosophical Society, Madame Blavatsky?
Oh, some yeah.
So they also talk about the evolution of the soul. So that's my only, again, I'm trying to put a logical explanation to people with sensitivities that they've been here longer than some of us, and again they have that active sensitivity because they've been here longer. So what is your belief with regards to past lives and, again, that gift, that sensitivity?
Well, we all have them. You cannot learn enough by just doing a lifetime or two. You would really have to. Usually, I found it that one. Uh, I often talk about people coming down here to do missions. Some missions are like faster accomplished, but some missions take a longer period to be successful and to be learned and times.
Yes.
So you see, we're still on the same page. We're like just going down and down to it
Yeah.
again to get more on this same stuff. But I also find that some ability people, they were not first born on this planet. They had actually
Mm.
also been to other planets. So their illusionary story is a lot longer than just being on this planet here.
Yes.
For some reason, that just started to open up to me, and it was kind of like pulling a plug or something, and it just I just got flooded with all this.
Yeah.
So I can go several thousand years back and tell you about stuff from there, from what I have seen.
Yes, please.
Well, for instance, the Egyptian story is not as being told, and the Jewish Israeli story is not as they're being told either. The Egyptian glyphs are, and I think it's being done on purpose, they are mistranslated. They don't say what the archaeologists say that they're saying. The first book I picked up on the subject, I think I was 18, and I was looking up on these pictures of glyphs and stuff, and I was going like, the same thing that happened with the Bible. Like, what are they talking about? It doesn't say that. That's not true. So.
Yeah. So it's like intuition for you that when you pick up that book, you know what really happened. Meaning you get images or you get thoughts and you get messages. Is that how it works for you?
The first thing that happens is that it's a strong feel actually. Either I feel like, yes, I agree with this, or I feel the opposite, like, what? Um, and so if I want to know more, I need to go behind that feeling and kind of trace it, and in order to find out, okay, so how come it is that I just know that for some reason? And therein lies past time knowledge. Yeah.
You mentioned in one Reddit post that you were shot at the back, right? So you have a problem in the 1920s, your past life, you were shot at the
Yeah,
back.
and it was somewhere in mid or northern Germany, I think. Everyone was wearing that very classical, like 1920s kind of wear. So that's how I could tell it was from around that period of time. And it was not particularly in a wartime, but most of Europe was kind of, there was tension, like political tension and military tension. And so my husband and I, we were walking home from visiting some friends, and I can see the streets and all of that. And we were just walking along the street, and we by accident passed a corner bar that was in the basement, and people was going off of there having fun, drinking, all that kind of stuff. And what I don't know is that behind me, two soldiers are patrolling the streets. just like you would police, but these are just looking like soldiers. And as we are kind of passing that bar, some kind of riot or fighting or whatever happens, and he was just starting off his military career. So when he fumbles his rifle from the back in order to just be ready to confront the fight at the bar, he accidentally fires a shot, and that hits me like in a particular vertebrae in my spine. um Actually, it's when you have the heart placed in front, it's right in the back of that. So the nerves there are both going to the heart and to the lungs. And I was taken to a hospital by my husband, but the bullet got stuck in the spine in a specific kind of way, so that the doctors at that time, they said, no matter if we pull it out or let it be there, 99% she's going to die. And so I opted for just letting it stay there because it didn't really matter when I was dying anyway. I died within, I think, two days, just around that time, because it was pressing and screwing up the heart and the lungs, so it couldn't function and it was seeping blood. But my husband, I only got to have one child, a daughter, in that lifetime. And so he had time enough to go get her, and that they could be with me and say goodbye, you know. And of course, reliving those experiences is kind of hard, you know. You're just like sobbing and going through the pains, and oh my God, you know. But that's a part of the universe, and the cosmos, just like everything else. So yeah, and I can still feel it to this day. It's not, of course, it's not bad, and it's not per se broken. The doctors can't really find anything.
Yeah.
But I can just feel that there's that tension sometimes, that it kind of needs to like be snapped sometimes
Yeah.
in order to function.
Feel better.
Yeah. When that pain, I'm not sure if the pain came first or if the memories of a past
Yeah.
lifetime came first, because they came more or less at the same time. So I'm not sure actually what happened first. Yeah.
Did you have to meditate to get into that state of remembering, or it just happened?
There's a funny thing. I have never been capable of meditating. I don't know how to do it. I fall asleep instead. Yeah. And I asked some other ability people about it, because
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand it, and I tried so many different methods and different hours of day and night and all kinds of stuff. So I asked someone that called himself a clairvoyant, and he just looked at me and said, well, for some reason, it seems like the way that you are working your abilities, you kind of don't need a meditation, because you're always more or less in that kind of state. And when you're sleeping, you're actually taking a break from that. And to me, that just felt like that was a probable explanation. So I just went with that, like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. So to me, it's very interesting when people are telling me about meditations, because I can do it. So
Yeah. You don't need to meditate to get into that state. Yes.
apparently not.
I actually just have a question, because I think maybe because the Philippines is predominantly a Catholic and a Christian country, it's always a debate whether or not where we got our abilities. Of course, if you're talking to a Catholic, specifically like for my mom, if I talk to them about my abilities, it's always gonna come from the devil. And then if you were able to help someone, were able to resolve a problem of them, they think that it's coming from angels and gods. um where do you stand on that? I want to find out, because I want to, I personally would want to know If it is from the devil, should we stop using it? If it is from angels, should we continually use it? What do you think?
Well, there is a lot of discerning in that to do, of course, because one thing they got right is that the devil has a knack of trying to appear as an angel. They got that right. So a lot of discerning is necessary when using abilities, both for what you are getting in, but also for what you're giving out. It has taken me some time to figure out exactly how. I find it that the negatives that are kind of like hiding within some people, that they are actually the most tricky to spot because they're really hiding behind their human facade. And that makes it dangerous and tricky. But usually, when they come in as energy, when you are really feeling acquaint with that pure, bright light in your heart, you get a feel and you know that vibration by heart. So whatever is coming in, if they don't have that vibration, you know already there that something is funky with them. When with ever they're just polluted, or if they're per se negative, you can tell that the resonance, the vibration is different, and that automatically means that you need to be careful. I would say that that is most likely the best way of doing it. It's the most accurate. And there's a particular reason why I'm not using any names. I'm not saying God or goddess. I'm not
Yes.
using any names because there's been so much manipulation done with that.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Vatican, that becomes even more interesting, because what I find is that the Vatican, together with other beings, they wrote the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote it that way for a particular reason. And I can just take one example, like when you say a prayer and at the end of it, you say amen. If you track that word amen, you can go back to an Egyptian god,
Amon.
Amon. And
Yeah.
Amon means the black sun, not the positive, nice
Yeah.
white one, but the
Yeah.
black sun.
Yeah.
So that means every time you say amen, whatever prayer and energy you have put into that
Yeah.
goes to the black sun, which I don't see as positive.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yes.
So a lot of manipulation has been put into both religion and politics, and we need to be so careful.
Yeah.
And they can't see it themselves because the priest says what I need to do and it all feels good, and they are taking this polluted, manipulated energy and make it look brighter.
Yeah.
There's just this funny example about why are they depicting their savior Christ dying on a cross with like thorns and pains and sores and running blood.
Yeah.
Why would you even do such a thing if you want people to feel love and enlightenment and being saved kind of thing by the light, forgiveness and all of that, and pain.
Yeah.
But arguing with these people is a really tough thing to do, because
Yes.
that was why they put it in the Bible and in their religions, that everyone that has abilities, they must be working with the devil.
Yeah.
So, they did that on purpose, and you should be aware of this. Some other, if you go further back from before the Bible, it was more commonly known. Oftentimes, ability people were actually called prophets or something like that.
Yeah.
But since these books has been written,
Yeah.
we have just been burned and tortured and hunted and all kinds of stuff. Is that answer enough, or do you want me to comment on anything in particular?
No, it's okay. That's okay. I agree with you with regards to that, and not to mention, like I feel like with regards to our ability, it's as simple as learning how. I mean, it's as simple as walking. Everyone can walk. It really does depend on you whether you're gonna go to the right path or to the left part, right?
Yeah. And I have always thought it like this, that if the sacred divine wanted to put beings, positive beings, humans into the world, then why should the divine give them abilities that connect straightly to something very evil? I mean,
Yes.
to me, that doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
I think that the divine has like an evolutionary stages for
Yes.
us, that we are working and evolutioning through these stages, and one day, like far, far away, we will go back to be a part of cosmos, what some would call God, but the actual divine cosmos. In that way, I think it makes more sense that abilities are not a question of good and evil. It's a part of evolution, just like getting index thumbs instead of claws and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and if that's true, then we shouldn't be afraid of it, or be putting it off in society or something like that.
Maria, I just want to go back to what you mentioned a while ago to me about that there is a deliberate blockage on my ability. Because before, I think that this is JM was actually able to identify this because one of my guide or my familiar um, before very actively protects me from literal harm, because before, while I was practicing literally every day about my ability, I was able to run in mud fields in high heels, like 4 inches of stilettos. Physically impossible, but I was able to do it. I was able to,
He lost consciousness first, and then his friends.
yeah, I totally lose consciousness on these incidents. And then there's another one that I was able to walk literally 4 5 cities from my house and without breaking any sweat. And this time I was as well no sense of consciousness. And I think that JM was able to identify that my familiar takes over my body if there was a psychic attack. Because before I felt like if there's a psychic attack, my familiar would literally cover me with everything and keeps me safe. So I think that what you when you mentioned a while ago that it was deliberately placed there, do you think that it is my familiar literally telling me stop using your abilities or else you might get attacked?
No, because what the membrane or whatever is to call it in there is making it more unsafe for you. So unless your familiar is not as nice as you think it is, then it's not your familiar doing it. Have you ever heard a term that is called the agenda?
Yeah.
They are a vicious group of alien beings that is really putting a negative grid upon the entire planet, and most likely they are the ones that had put that in you. They want you stop using your abilities, they want to stop your progression, they want to stop you just as much as possible. And if it keeps going, they will also move in for dangerous attacks. So it's something that you really need to start working on.
When Sam got in touch with us, he said he felt like he was dying actually. A big part of his life that was being sensitive was cut out.
Yeah.
It really makes sense now that something could have stopped you from feeling these things or being connected to your sensitivity?
It's somewhat similar to a curse, you could say, a strong, very strong curse coming from these agenda beings.
Yeah, because I'm now more than ever, I'm so scared. Because before, I was able to kind of, guess who's gonna pass on, how, if there's any negative that will happen to a certain person. I'm able to guess that, it, just by intuition and all. Now, literally, I won't be able to do that for anyone in my family. And like what you said, that if I continually do it, like if I allow this blockage to continue, you are correct, I may not be able to help anyone else, and that literally is scaring me. So what do you think, or in your opinion, how do you think, or what should I do to remove this? Because I feel like I am not normal at all.
That's true. You are born like me. Like I told you in the beginning, that area here,
Maria points to the upper portion at the back of the head.
which also includes the imagination and the subconscious, you really need to cleanse and open that up big time. And the same thing, the area in your stomach where you said you had this pressure and this kind of pain, that's the same thing. Those two are connected. So that area needs big time cleansing and opening and healing as well. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. You could look into gemstones, for instance, of different kinds assisting you,
Mhm.
but also really hardcore, like praying, chanting the divine light to come down here
Maria points to the nape and to the upper back portion of the head.
and like cleanse your channel, cleanse and free your subconscious. But you really, you gotta be adamant. I've been through something like that myself, and you really gotta be adamant. I mean, you have to like mean it like you haven't meant anything ever before, because it's you could say it's a demonic type of energy. So you really need to get kick-ass in order to go through with this. And remember that it is both areas, because let's say you get this one better, for instance, then they will just abuse the other area. So you have to work at both areas as one, as they're connected, and see this sacred divine energy like almost like a waterfall, like a huge like faucet of pure white light energy just going through you in here and out in that through that stomach area. And you're energy wise, you're flushing yourself really. It's gonna take a lot. You will have to do it several times daily and for God knows how many days, but you just got to keep going, and everything you can think of that is positive that might assist you in some way, eating whatever herbs, carrying gemstones, whatever stuff, you just keep doing that too. Have extra vitamins in your food, all kinds of stuff like that, because they're trying to make you weaker and weaker and weaker. And if they succeed in that, what will happen next is that you will get physically attacked. And I was this close to dying from the last attack I had. So it can get pretty fucking serious, pardon my French, So you have to start now, and you really have to be adamant. If you feel scared by this, I can understand that, because it is fucking scary sometimes, You would have to take that scarcity feeling and turn it into a righteous anger about them hurting you, you know. Take, instead of just letting that energy like push you out of balance, take the energy and convert it into righteous fighting anger, like get the fuck out of me, kind of stuff like that. Because in that way you don't have to worry about fear, the vibration of fear making things harder on you, if you can just take it and convert it like that and make it your strength instead. Because I think it's really hard not to be scared about stuff like this.
Because you mentioned a while ago about my subconscious and my imagination being blocked out. I just want to let um, uh, everyone know in the call right now that the only times that I get like, remember when I told you the dream that I had last 4 years ago about my tito, passing away.
Yes, yes.
That's the only times that I get dreams now. Other than that, I don't I don't dream. I don't have I can't dream. I'm not able to dream. So I think that's one thing because like what I told you before, usually if it's that kind of feeling that I'm gonna get like if someone's gonna pass or something negative is gonna happen, I kind of get that from my dreams. Now I don't.
It is them attacking you, and they're doing that. That's part of the blockage. You're still dreaming, but you can't remember any of it. That's part of the blockage. Yeah, to make you feel disconnected.
What happened with you that you explained you were this close to dying? What kind of attack was it?
Uh,
Or if you don't mind, if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay.
no, I can tell you, I have been actually dead 3 times and came back, and one time extremely close to dying, and one time being stopped in the middle of all of it, just like frozen in midair and stuff. So this last one, I think it was pretty horrid actually, because that was what I can best resemble by the word vampire. And it was halfway manifested. So it was both going on the physical and on other levels of energy. So it was really a bad sucker, you know. Something had happened in my life that was some kind of emotionally traumatizing to me. And it really got me emotionally down. And when you get emotionally down, like I said, often the digestive system and stuff like that is kind of going funky wonky because of that. So I was already feeling sick because of all of that happening, but not anything dangerous per se, you know, but just like feeling really sick and pains and crying and stuff like that. And the agenda, I have noticed, create these events and stuff like that on purpose in order to get some of the strongest of us down. And so they waited till I was really lying there sick and crying and stuff. And the middle of the night, I had this, some call it sleep paralysis, but it's not per se that. Your energy is actually being frozen, like kept at a standstill. And this very dense, it was so dense and so black, I could feel it, and it was icy cold like energy, but at the same time it felt like kind of sticky, sort of like jelly or something maybe. And it came in through my balcony door as I was sleeping, and then it put this freeze kind of on me. And so it just crawled up from, it was terrible. It crawled up from my foot end of the bed and crawled on top of me. And they have a huge bite, like they can elongate their bite. They have 4 really big fangs. So it bite down with where my liver is at, but the whole side, I think, can I show it like here?
Yeah,
Like the whole side of me, both in front and in the back here,
we're bit.
it just made a huge bite, like,
Yeah.
and then it just kept on. And I, even though I was frozen in that state, I could feel everything. And I
Yeah.
could feel it laying on top of me and like pushing me down by some kind of weight. And it also had like this talon kind of fingers, and it bored its talons into me, into my body, and I could physically feel it. And it was really, it was some, is probably the most horrible thing I have ever experienced. That was really horrible. And I had no doubt that I was dying, and it was going fast. I tried to like hold on and try to do whatever pushing I usually can do, but I was just into a weekend of a state. I couldn't do it. And it had literally physically was it in me? So another dimension kind of push wouldn't work because it would rip my body along with it, and then I would have certainly died. So that was terrible, and I could feel my spirit simply leaving me, because there was nothing else to do. It was draining both my life force and my physical blood. It was draining everything. So my spirit started kind of move out of me, and it wanted to move like out here. But I have always been like pretty willful. I have a big willpower, so I was not going to just let that happen. So I actually remember myself being out of my body and literally hanging on to my crown chakra on the inside like that, and I felt like I was being sucked out up into some kind of board or a board or something behind me, and I was just clinging on like that. And then I would just, inside of me, I was just screaming because I knew this is not good. So I just screamed like intensity, sacred Jesus. I always put the word sacred in front of a name to make sure that it's something benign coming.
Yes.
So I screamed sacred Jesus over and over and over again. And within some seconds, I think he appeared, and it's not the first time I have encountered him. So I knew that it was him. He was standing coming to the left side of my body. And you see, there's this, they have to be allowed, if they want to do something inside of your body, they have to be allowed to do so. So even though I was clinging on like
Yes.
that, he was still like taking his time to ask me, will you please allow me to enter your physical body? I'm like, yes, let's do it. Yeah. And so he lied down into my body in the exact same position that my body was placed. And he like created a flow that pumped his pure energies in all of me, even the physical, in all of me.
Yes.
And as he continued to do that, and you just said to me, it's okay, you could just go to sleep now. I got this down. So it just continued to like flush like that. As more the more he flushed, at the end of it, the vampire, as I would call it, it simply couldn't stand the purity. It just couldn't stand the pure divine light any longer. So at the end of it, it ended up releasing me itself from its claws and a bite, and it kind of
Yeah.
wimpled and like it was so awful, and it just like slithered off of my body and onto the floor and went out the balcony door where it had came in. And Jesus still, he made that flushing for several hours, and I went into a sleep of such a kind, I would say it was most likely kind of a coma, actually, because I remember nothing from sleeping, absolutely nothing. I just remember waking up the next day, and I was still in some kind of pain and stuff and dealing with the remnants of it. But I was just, ever so thankful that I was actually waking up, because I kind of didn't expect to. So, and this was just about 3.5 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had to check with the doctors to see how much blood was taken.
Yeah, I needed to do all of that because I was working as an intern and stuff like that. So I had a lot of work to do, and I needed to call in sick, like really, really, really sick.
Yeah.
And so in order to call in sick, I had to go to the doctors anyway. And then I was just saying, I have this kind of pain. Of course, I didn't tell what happened, by the night, but I have this kind of pain. I feel like that. Da, da, da. Can you just do some blood work and just check everything? And they were saying, you're okay, but your liver, that was one point of the fangs, and the right kidney, that was one point of the facts, is not doing that well. And you have a huge amount of blood loss, and they kept examining me, and they couldn't tell where that blood had gone to.
Yeah.
It was just vanished. Yeah, and it was so much.
Because there were no marks, right?
No physical marks. You could see some reddening of the skin, but it wasn't that much actually. But I could feel it even in my bones and in my muscles and all of that. It hurt like shit. It was really horrible. And the blood loss was such a big amount that I had to have a blood transfusion and special iron injections and stuff like that in order to regain some strength. So that was so close, and it was so. I don't even think there's a horror movie that I can compare that to. It was terrible, really.
Yes. Especially the pain you felt.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, hanging on to your life.
Yeah, and if it had just bit down a bit harder, two of my ribs would most likely have broken. It felt like someone had taken like a baseball bat and just hammered, full shit on my ribs. So I could feel the point where the fangs had partly penetrated two of my ribs and then going into the organs. So yeah, it's crazy to think that stuff like that can happen, but it
Yeah.
can, and it does.
Do you have maybe a theory or an assumption as to why you were attacked, given that you said that they really target the ability people, but is there anything that you think that urged them or that pushed them to do it to you?
People like us in here that have abilities, and not just have abilities, but we can actually do some stuff about it, and we can get to know the truth about a lot of things. By the agenda, we are seen as a possible danger to their mission to keep control and keep power of this planet. And that is the main reason for them taking us out, creating obstacles, having family members killed, all kinds of stuff, whatever they can think of, just giving you perhaps a slight push to fall down the stairs, whatever they can think of, they will do it. And that's because you're simply becoming too good. You know too much of the truth,
Yeah.
or have the potential to realize these truths. So you need to be taken out, and that happens by whatever means possible. Not necessarily otherworldly entities. It could also be humans having these kind of like crazy fits that all of a sudden you're like the enemy and they just attack you and stuff like that. It can be humans as well. If we start to really work at it, we can. I have done some of the. Currently doing some of the work. I'm trying to flush the agenda out. You know about that, JM, like in magic, when you can pinpoint and target specific beings or persons. Let's say someone is trying to put a curse on you, then you can try and track the person that did the curse. About stuff like that, right? It's
Yeah.
somewhat it's somewhat equivalent to that. This that I call the agenda is alien beings that are, you could say, devil worshippers. We could call that just to make it easier. They are very, very dark and very negative beings. There's several ways to try and loosen and undo their power. And one of them is, of course, to try and free people in general. But one of the other ones could be to try and do a track a tracing on them and actually corner them by the lights, because if we can put a heck of a lot of pure divine light on these beings, it's going to be troublesome for them to keep doing their evil business. You see?
Yes.
Oh, I have started to do some of that work because we're being that hunted. So I was like, yeah, well, you're hunting us, my kids, me. Okay, well, then I will trace you and see what I can find, kind of doing it the other way around.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, I cannot recommend it per se because it is dangerous business. It is. I just as might well just do it because both my children and I are regularly under attack of different kinds. So I might as well just go at it. Yeah.
So do you have like a community there that helps you, that you plan with or that accept this?
Nope.
Here in the Philippines, it's more accepted. In a way, it's more accepted that I heard actually from that person we talked to, who the Filipino living in Denmark right now. He said that over there, it's not that talked about. It's not that accepted.
It's being kept very quiet, and most people, they won't even talk anything about spiritually related stuff.
Yes.
They're trying to ignore it or just put it off as mumbo jumbo, let's
Yes.
stick to science, whatever, stuff
Yes.
like that. And the ones that are ability people and is trying to do some kind of good and stuff like that, they are trying to do it in, I would say, like a very nice kind of way, like I'm a
Okay.
goody Mrs. Two Shoes, and they're certainly not mentioning the agenda or anything like
Yes.
that. Shh. So in my country, it would be hard to find someone somewhat alike me or just thereabouts, that is just open to, okay, there's not just spirituality and psychic stuff. There's also really manipulating and hidden and kind of freaky evil stuff. Some of them are just, oh yes, angels are so amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm making angel statues, and I respect that, and it's okay, but that's just not what I need because I'm fighting evil suckers. So
Yes.
um yeah, so mostly I have to look abroad for people somewhat like me. Yeah.
So have you connected with others who, well, aside from us, aside from them, the people here, but you've connected with others who know the things you have to do to get fight back.
I think it's actually a funny story and that you're mentioning it because in summer 2020, my twin flame, like your other part of your soul, like the one person, he just like popped out of nowhere and started writing me on Reddit and all kind of stuff. And long story short, we're engaged now. So
Oh, okay.
and
Okay.
because we are from the same soul origin, he also is packed with abilities and knows about the agenda and had attacks all his life and kind of stuff like that. And after he came into my life, it's like it kind of opened something because I have actually more and more people, for instance, like yourself, that just starts to kind of like pop out of nowhere and just write me or text me or whatever. I met one on the streets just a couple of days ago and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That was a star person or a star seed, as someone calling them. She was actually from another star system. I'm like, woo. So it is starting to come along a bit, but yeah, I mean, I've been alone my entire life, just having to deal with all of this. But you could say the upside of it is that it makes you stronger because you really have to get your act together, have clean ethics and have a clean heart, and really try to summon some courageousness and strength in order to fight back on this kind of stuff. Well, you know there's always something good even in the really bad.
Last questions, Maria. Sorry, yeah. Thank you so much for your time and your giving us the advice and doing readings for some of us. Um, One of my questions is the exorcist we talked to early this year, right, Liz? Early this year, no? Early this year, he said the sensitives or the ability people noticed something this year that the way he explained it, spirits or these beings are operating on different frequencies. And this year, the frequencies are there's something about the rotation of our planet that are making the frequencies mix up. So we've had a lot of stories actually from people who are not sensitive who have been seeing more ghosts popping up because again the frequencies are mixing up this year. So have you been observing that? Have you heard of that?
Yes, very much. I'm used to it actually. Usually when I get up in the morning, I'm like trying to sense like, okay, so what kind of a day is today? And that is because of that. But it's actually a somewhat improvement because 2020, like from 2018 at least and to 2020, the best way I can put it in short is like hell on earth because it was literally just pouring negative entities and energies of all kinds of things, and we were fighting every day just to be capable of just being here and breathing here. It was crazy. So now it is somewhat better because another alien species called the Andromedans, they have closed off the portal that these very negatives were coming from, and that has taken the worst of it. But still, Earth is also a sacred being that is trying to make its way through evolution, and she is moving up by now. And the agenda wants her to not move up, or at least for it to take as long as possible. So that is why you get that mumble jumble, because the sacred earth wants to move up and the agenda wants to keep everyone in. So like, so one day we feel the negatives more, and some days we feel the positives more. Yeah, it's a funky situation. It really is. But that priest was right. Whatever he or she was. Yeah.
He wasn't a priest, but he again he's abilitied and he helps with exorcisms. So
Oh.
he does it on the side. Again, he doesn't he wants it anonymous also. So yeah, he does it on the side to help. Again, if you have it, you want to help people.
Mm.
So thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. Do you have questions for us? Maybe you have questions for us here in the for the
Um,
ability here in the Philippines. These folks we have here.
yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of stories of the Philippines being like a very spiritual kind of place. And that's also what I feel when I try to like connect with your map. You're part of the earth, you could say. Think you're just putting it to some terms, whereas others are putting it to other terms. But I also feel like all areas of the earth also have kind of like their special variety of beings or entities that has tried to do some evolution or trying to make missions of their own, and some ashwang.
Aswang, yes.
Ashwang, you know that word?
Aswang, yes, yes.
Yeah, that was one of the things that when I heard that story and I tried to like somehow read into it, I was thinking this is very much equivalent to what I would call a vampire, because it literally sucks life force out of people. However, it's doing it, but it's the same kind of idea. Let's suck them dry so I can keep myself fed, right?
But here they are people and they also shapeshift. There's also stories of them shapeshifting into to dogs, big dogs or big black birds. Again, similar to vampires in lore that you hear.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure what they are actually.
no, but the fact that they can shapeshift, that makes them not of this world. They're incomers from somewhere else, at least. Yeah, what would you think?
We have also a vampire here in the Philippines, but not the actual na that they suck blood. They suck energies.
Yeah, that person would need something equivalent to an exorcism, because it is that attached to him through the subconscious and controlling and dominating him like that. like when you kind of like when you see children playing with puppets, they often grab the puppets by this area over here and controlling and steering them. Is kind of the same thing going on. And in order to get rid of that, and even if other people can see it, it's pretty severe. He will probably need several exorcism in order to get clear of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. This was so eye-opening for us. We felt for me personally, and I go Sam, sige.
I'm actually no. I'm more so. I'm leaving this conversation with a more, I think, a more aggressive approach on cleansing my chakra, just to put a name on it. But I thank you so much for clarifying, because I do, it does make sense that but more so afraid for about the agenda. I'm gonna read through more about that so I could see what I can do as a part
Mm.
of that. And like I actually, a while ago, I was like literally holding a baby because she woke up. But I was actually going to, I want to tell you that you found a community here in the Philippines. So if you want to, I don't know, combine efforts in releasing the agenda out there and letting everyone know about it, just let us know. Let us know how to help you.
Yes.
There are a lot of sensitive people here in the Philippines, and
Yeah, well, I really think that we can do this, or rather, we can only do this if we really try and find each other and make strength in numbers. So, but like I said, you would have to cleanse yourselves daily and work on your protections and stuff, because it is dangerous work. It really is. So you would have to ask yourself if you're okay with that, and if it's okay that sometimes, like now I have a cold, for instance, so it wouldn't be the best time for me to go, yay, let's go
yeah.
fight someone or whatever.
Yes.
So of course, sometimes we need to say, I can't right now, I'm not feeling up to it, and I hope that you will be honest with each other and with me about that, because we need to, of course, also care and protect each other and ourselves. That's natural. But that is just so cool if you feel up to doing some of this with me, because a lot of people are suffering and they have no idea why, and the earth are being kept back from moving on. So yeah, it's doing a lot of pain on everyone, really. Yeah, I'm so happy to meet all of you.
Yeah. We're also so happy to meet you.
I don't know how to technically exchange information. I don't know exactly how we
Uh,
do
uh,
that. Do I
uh,
send my mail and stuff to you,
yeah, you can
or
send it to my Reddit, and then we can, because we right now we have. Do you have a Facebook? We have Facebook. No. Okay. Okay. Oh, you can send us your email, because right now the four of us have a chat group where we already talk about all these things and have comedy on the side. Sam is a comedian. But we'd like to help in any way we can
oh, that's super cool.
and ask questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Sam, while I'm remembering it, often when people talk about the vibration of aggression, they are calling aggression a negative thing. But I want you to be aware that there's two types of aggression. There's two types of this energy. One is selfish, ego-centered, and only fighting for dominance and for getting its way. And the other is what I call the blue flame. It is only activated in order to do selfless work too, and with the light. And it's a righteous anger, a righteous harm, a righteous because you are going by what justice is when you truly love someone. You know, it's based off of love. You see the difference? Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
So I just want you to know that when you are fighting, that if this is a righteous fight for you and for whoever else, then you are allowed to feel that anger, even if you get furious, because it comes from the right place. Okay? Hmm? Does that make sense?
It's creepy because actually that's one thing that because aggression um is something that I was really afraid of really before because I felt like I was literally always mad coming from someone who's really like really young before. Being mad is always negative, so I literally tried to push that away from me, making me more pacifist. The only thing there is like what you said, I really need to identify if this aggression in me is indeed from the negative side or that blue flame that you made mention. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that is a way to discern it and to keep ourselves safe so that we're not acting on whatever demonics want us to be aggressive in a negative kind of way. That is to remind ourselves, feel and ask ourselves, is this the blue flame kind of aggression? And if the answer is yes, you can just take it out there, because you need it to pack a punch.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Maria.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
so welcome.
It was a delight to meet you. Thank you very much.
Well, it was likewise with you. I mean, this is so interesting to me.
Yes. For us
And all the
also.
way in the Filipinos, I'm like, oh
Yes.
my God, yay. So, yeah. And oh yeah, just a final note. I don't see myself as anything more or less than anyone else. Some people, they have this, oh, because you know stuff and you know that, they kind of like assume that I'm arrogant or better knowing or something like that. And I'm really not. I'm like, if I walked down the street just in my natural clothing, you probably wouldn't notice me because I look just like everyone else, I don't feel myself to be more or less or whatever. I don't even think or feel in those kind of ways. I'm just here with all of you, and let's just make the best out of it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
It will take a while to decompress everything that was said. The agenda, past lives, our planet's ascension into a higher density. I've actually listened to this episode several times while editing it, and every time something new pops up, I would suggest multiple listens to this as well. Something insightful and meaningful comes out every time. Take your time and do your own research. This is what Maria did, and I'm pretty sure that's what she would encourage you to do also. What I would like is for sensitive, abilitied people to chime in. Reach out to us and tell us if you've experienced or felt the same things Maria had mentioned. The deeper we dive into this paranormal world, we realize that there's a whole different spectrum of the unknown we may not have seen or noticed. Have abilitied people noticed this as well and chose not to tell us about it because again, ang understanding natin is sa paranormal is multo, elemental, kapre, angel. Pero the more we talk to abilitied people from other areas, other countries, parang hindi lang yun eh. We would definitely love to know it as well. So please reach out and let us know. Thank you, Maria, for indulging us and answering our questions. Your words of love and light definitely reach across the miles. At the release of this episode, we have actually had another conversation with Maria and another sensitive who we met on Reddit. Please watch out for those future episodes. There are more revelations there that I would not want to spoil. Thank you for listening to this episode. I know, given the length, some of you might have dropped out and listened to it in 2 or 3 sittings, but we felt that cutting it in half would have taken away from the story and message of Maria. If you have unusual experiences you want to share, please message us on Facebook or email us at paranormalsph@gmail.com. As I mentioned, I will not debunk or question your story. Given the short time we have here on Earth, I'm only here to enjoy the mysteries of life that you have to share. We keep things anonymous, so don't worry if you feel that your relatives will listen to this podcast. The Paranormal Podcast is engineered and produced by F90 Productions. Please rate and review our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whichever podcast platform you are using. Thank you for listening. And everyone, please stay safe.